going, guys? Welcome to the channel and welcome to a new BMW 335i video. In the previous 335i videos, we installed every N54 bolt-on power mod available on ARM's website. And now that this thing is fast, it's time to switch our attention to making this thing look good. And our first modification in that category is a Starlight headliner. First things first, we need to remove the factory headliner. Unfortunately for my car, I have the gray headliner, which was standard in all pre-LCI E92s. But a while back, I scored a deal on this 2013 E92 with a black headliner, which I knew I wanted to save just for this project. So you're probably wondering why I'm tearing down this BMW's interior. I simply just bought this car for a part out. It has a blown motor, so that's part of the reason why I got such a good deal on it. Now, if you have a gray headliner and you want to install a Starlight headliner, there's no reason that you can't. I personally just think the black looks better, and I was going to swap it over regardless. As far as the difficulty for removing this headliner, it's pretty freaking easy. But if you get stuck, there's plenty of how-to YouTube videos on how to remove this headliner step by step. On the back side of this headliner, there's a wiring harness for the sunroof and all the lights, and there's also a bunch of foam pieces that we need to remove, and I'm marking them all so I know exactly where they go back once I glue them back on. Now we get into today's sponsor, Sunken, which supplied me with this Starlight headliner. It's a pretty affordable kit. This is the 500 piece kit. They sell some other ones, but I'll leave this one linked in the description. For those who don't know how a Starlight kit works, I'll quickly go over the basics. So this part that I'm holding right now is what I like to call the light box. It pretty much has a bunch of different colored LEDs and a motor that rotates the lights to give you that twinkle effect, kind of like stars. What plugs into the light box are these fibers, which are pretty much just plastic strands. And they project light from the light box all the way to the other end of the strand. Like I mentioned, this one's the 500 piece kit, so this has 500 plastic strands. And yes, every single one of these is going to need its own hole drilled and to be glued into the headliner. So we get a lot of work on our hands. And here's the wireless controller, which has a ton of different options and colors. You can also hook it up to your phone via Bluetooth and control it that way. Here's some drill bits for our different sized fiber optics. And this comes with a cigarette lighter plug and a wall mount plug. So you don't necessarily have to put it in a vehicle. But at the end of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to use a fuse tap. That way the headliner turns on when the ignition is on. And that way you don't have to mess with turning the Starlight headliner on or off. And you only need the controller for changing the colors or modes. First thing we did was mark all of our holes. We have 3 different size fiber optics for a bit of contrast, which is one of the coolest parts about this kit. We started with the 10 largest strands and spaced them out evenly, and then moved on to the 40 medium strands and did the exact same thing. That way there's not a cluster of large or small strands, and we keep the light somewhat even throughout the whole headliner. To push the fiber optics through, you pretty much drill a hole, put the strand through, and then hot glue it. It's just that simple. One of the most important things to keep everything neat is to keep the strands together where you intend to keep your light box. When you're installing the strands, make sure to pull them all the way through and take up all the slack. That way the slack doesn't bunch up around the sunroof. Now it's time to test everything out. After getting all the ends trimmed up, this is looking really good. The spacing seems perfect and you can clearly see the small, medium, and large stars, which is really cool. I cannot wait to put this in the car. As I found out in the other car, it's easiest to remove the headliner by taking out the seats and the center console. It's probably not super necessary to remove the center console, but I'm not going to risk damaging my new headliner, so both things are coming out. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Okay.
There we go. All right, I gotta move this out of the way.
It's allergy season, folks.
No, it's not.
It is for me.
All right, we got her out.
All right, let's take her for a test drive, see if we gain any horsepower.
We probably lost quite a bit with those seats. Alright guys, we're about to throw this headliner in, but I just want to quickly go over everything that we did because it kind of went over quick with the time lapse. But here is the headliner right here. We got the end of it going off to the right side on the passenger side. So Tyler is the expert on doing this because he's done it one time on his Silverado.
Can you imagine being on shroom? So the first things first, what we did was we put the 10 big ones around, try to space them out nice and good by marking it with a marker. You know, we used different color markers. You can do that however you want. And we did the 40 medium ones, same thing. And then we got to the 500 regular size ones. Those are the ones you're gonna wanna try to keep this as organized as possible. And the way we actually did it was we started from the front, worked our way up. You can do it however way you want. That's just the way we figured it'd be easier. And we just kind of pull them tight as we went through. So like these little X marks right here, those for each strand. We popped a hole in it. You can use whatever you want for popping a hole. I've used a bobby pin before. This time around, we used a little bitty drill bit. And we recommend you mark them all, then drill them, then put the strands through.
I think the only thing that we didn't mention, which is pretty obvious, is that this headliner has a sunroof. So we tried to make it as organized as possible in the front. We kind of went back and forth at least like 4 different times of just like restarting random lines everywhere, and it was just getting too unorganized. So hopefully that helped you guys when you're installing this kit. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw it in the BMW. After getting the headliner and all the trim installed, it's time to move on to mounting our light box. Originally, I was planning to put it in the trunk, so I removed the rear deck, but there just wasn't a space to pass the lines through, so I ended up scrapping that idea. So I actually found a new spot, which I think is better, right behind the passenger trim panel. All I needed to do now is route the wires from the light box. Now that I got the wires routed, it's time to finish up putting back the rest of this interior. Now I could just be done with this install and plug the cigarette lighter in the cigarette plug and call it good, but I wanted to take it a step further and use a fuse tap. So what I did off camera was tested a few fuses and found this one that turns on with accessory power. It's a 20 amp yellow fuse and it's right next to these two 5 amp fuses. This will turn on the Starlight kit as soon as you press the start button. I found this fuse tap assortment on Amazon and I'll leave a link for it in the description. It even comes with a few different size fuse taps that I can use for future projects. So I'll put the original 20 amp fuse in the bottom slot and a 5 amp fuse for the top slot, since the Starlight kit doesn't use much power. Now we'll route the wires through the glove box, which I ended up extending because they were a little bit short. We'll trim and strip the end of our power wire and connect our fuse tap to it. Now you just plug that fuse tap into the original slot of that 20 amp fuse, and now it's time to move into routing our ground, which I found a perfect piece of bare metal right behind this bolt. All I needed was a ring terminal that would fit around this bolt, and luckily I had some in my stash. And here's what it looks like with the power and ground all mounted up. Now it's finally time to test it out. What do you guys think of the Starlight kit? Was it worth it? Let me know down in the comments. Everything that I used in this video, including the Starlight kit, is going to be linked in the description in case you guys want to purchase a kit for yourself. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in another 335i video.